What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about the failure that is Spider-Man 2's web swinging. And I know failure may trigger a few people, but the reason why I use that is because I believe that the web swinging has devolved over time. And it has become extremely streamlined for a dumber audience.
But Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolytes.
Games nowadays, they want to streamline certain things so that everyone feels super, right? And we all know when everyone feels super,
no one will be.
And the best way to describe this, what I mean by streamline, is that in Spider-Man 2, the skill floor and the skill ceiling are the same thing. They're relatively the same thing. And that's usually signs of a bad game or signs of a kid game. And what I mean by that is that the skill floor, for those who don't know, is essentially the least amount of skills needed to play the game. Okay, can you get through this game by, mashing X, X, X or square, square, square and, get through the game? Whereas the skill ceiling is the mastery of the game, given that there are mechanics that allows you to do that create that depth. So that skill ceiling is pretty high. For example, games like Bayonetta, I would say even Arkham does this. There are a lot of games out there that, even when you look at Arkham, you can play the game by, just square, triangle, attack, counter, attack, counter. Now, if you look at someone who's first played the game, first time, and then if you look at someone who's mastered the controls and the mechanics of the game, you see it's night and day, right? It's night and day by a mile away because they are now implementing all of the mechanics and all the options that the game has laid out for them. Whether it's, perfect timing windows, whether it's constantly saying in free flow, whether it's, gadgets, whether it's environment. There's a litany of things that the game has that creates that depth that allows for that skill ceiling. So when we look at the web swinging of Spider-Man 2, that's what I mean is that the skill floor and the skill ceiling are relatively the same. When you look at someone, it's a great video. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it up, but it's a great video that was done when it came to Spider-Man PS4. There was a person saying, hey, I spent all 1,000 hours learning how to web swing. And their web swing looked like everyone else. And the same exact problem happens in Spider-Man 2. It's that you have people out there like, hey, it took me 100 hours to learn this. Oh, this is what mastered web swinging looks like. And their web swinging looks exactly the same as everyone else. There's not a lot of skill involved. And the reason is not because of the players. Let me be clear, this is not a jab at any of the players out there that have these compilations of, oh, this is, great web swing. The issue is that there's not enough mechanics to raise the skill ceiling. And the reason why I would argue that there's so little mechanics when it comes to web swinging is that when it comes to Brian Inhart. Brian Inhart is creative director. I remember him talking about this, in the first game, and his concept was forward momentum, right? He wanted the player to go forward.
One thing we talked about is we didn't want to stop players. We didn't want to face plant. We wanted to just keep your momentum and flow going. And he's 8 years being Spider-Man. He's kind of fine-tuned his traversal. So if you slam into a building, you just keep running up it.
Now, I don't know where this happened to come from. I don't know where, but now it seems like everyone wants web swinging to be fast. It's gotta be fast, I want fast. Like Spider-Man is somehow Sonic, but in the air. That was never the concept behind web swinging. And when speaking about Spider-Man, there's something more fun than that, and that's gonna be animating him. And if you're an animator looking for a job, boy, do I have a book for you. If you're a newbie looking for a job and looking to enter the animation field, I have a book for you. And it goes over all the methods that I've implemented and still implement today, and that I've helped friends actually implement and get jobs in the animation industry. It goes over as far as what you should do, and then it gives a real world experience that I implemented and how it came out. Now, obviously, I changed the companies, I changed the names around, and I changed the people's names around, but overall, you get a real life understanding of how to get an animation job, and especially in a market like, right now, which is gonna be tough, especially with AI and everything coming in. So this is absolutely a great book for you to get that I would probably guarantee would help you and assist you in getting that first animation job or to get another animation job if you've been recently laid off. So make sure to check it out, link in the description below.
Do it. Do it.
Because when you think of New York, it's the concrete jungle. One scene that I think, implements Spider-Man's web swinging fairly well, albeit I think the costume is garbage, is actually the ending of TASM, where he's running across things, he's flipping, and he's moving as if he knows his area. There is a certain level of immersion with the environment around him. And I think that is exactly where Spider-Man 2 fails, and other games have been way more successful. Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, I think, is a far better web swinging game than Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 1 or Miles Morales. I just think it very much is, and I don't even think it's to the point where it's like subjective. I think it's objectively better, depending if you want a higher skill ceiling. Now, if you want a low skill ceiling, okay, Spider-Man 2 is your go-to game. All you have to do is close your eyes and web swing. You can't do that in Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 because there's certain mechanics that you have to master if you want to go fast, or if you want to do tricks, or if you want to be able to swing competently, whether it's the boost, whether it's as far as the gravity and the physics in that game very much differ from that of, Spider-Man 2 and whatnot. Another glaring issue that I would say that is burdening Insomniac's Spider-Man web swinging is going to be a lack of style. If you have a game that has a low floor and a low ceiling, you're going to have to compensate some way, somehow. Now, I would argue that they try and compensate with combat, but I think combat is lacking in and of itself based off of what they gave us in Spider-Man PS4 with the gadgets and everything. But when it comes to web swinging, it significantly lacks in style. Something that was done very well. Something that was, almost highlighted, I believe in Spider-Man 2, if I'm not mistaken, where, it was saying, hey, you gotta swing with style. That was its whole thing of swinging with style. And we see this mindset, this concept, evolved in other games. For example, the loop-de-loop in Spider-Man 2, once again, the mindset is streamlined, okay? The mindset is streamlined. In order to streamline the experience so that everyone feels super, there is going to be some automation that occurs. Spider-Man 2 for the PS2, you have to gain momentum. You have to release the swing, right? As opposed to Spider-Man 2, which they choose to release this, the swing for you upon you hitting the climax of your swing. Spider-Man 2 for the PS2, you choose. Now, if you choose to hold it, you do a loop-de-loop, and you can do multiple loop-de-loops. You can't do that in Spider-Man 2. The game allows for one loop-de-loop. You only get one, okay? One loop-de-loop. And you go on your way. When we look as far as holding two web lines, when we look at the swing shot, a lot of the mechanics that we see in Spider-Man 2 have been done in other games. There's nothing wrong with that, but upon taking those mechanics, you have to add on to that. And what they decided to do was add on web wings, a mechanic that takes away from the web swinging, an already shallow mechanic. So you have an already shallow mechanic on top of another shallow mechanic because there is no depth to the web wings whatsoever. There is no intricate, there's no web tricks. There is no areas where something is designed specifically for the web wings. It's just another means of shallow gameplay to streamline what? You going forward. That's what it's about you going forward. They have reinforced this mindset, this theory around the gameplay with nearly everything. When it comes to the wall running, you going forward. You can't go down. You have to go forward. You go forward. You swing down, you immediately go forward. That's what it's about. That is not the same mindset that many of these other developers took. Okay, when it came to Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. When it comes to style, there was ways that you could express yourself as a player. There are certain elements when it comes to style that are better done and emphasized in previous titles. When it comes to swinging around lampposts, you can do that in Web of Shadows. You can do that even in Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, but the game allows you to do that. In Spider-Man 2, Insomniac Spider-Man, you merely web zip and he does the automatic spin around there and jumps off. If you don't jump off, you just stand there. Even with that stance, it's the same stance. When we look at Web of Shadows, they add that style, they add in that character by him holding on to the side. You can't spin around a lamppost horizontally in Spider-Man 2. You can do that in Web of Shadows. You can do it vertically in Web of Shadows. So there's a lot more style that is implemented via contextual animations, I'll say. In Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, when you get close to a wall, he'll, use his hand to go against the wall. When you get too close to the ground, he'll glide, on the ground, run across the ground. Those contextual animations add that sense of style. They add that sense of character to the game, which is why it feels so much better and so freeing than something that is streamlined Spider-Man 2. If you wanted to jump from one building to the next building to the next building, you can do that in Web of Shadows. You can't do that in Spider-Man 2. You go near a building, there is no running across it, you immediately go to a wall run. Why? Once again, the mindset behind it is forward. The player has to go forward. Forward momentum, forward, forward, forward. Even when it comes to sliding down a wall, you can do that in Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, where you can actually glide on the wall and jump off the wall, glide on the next building and jump off the building. In Web of Shadows, they take it another level with the style of the posing of him, his hands out, him gliding down. You can jump over to this building, over to that building. So there are certain elements that add that style that's not seen in Spider-Man 2, and I think it hurts it tremendously. One final example I'll say are the leans. Now, these leans aren't seen in Spider-Man 2 for the PS2, but they are seen in Web of Shadows, where if you move the control stick to the left, he'll move his leg to the left. You move the control stick to the right, he'll move his leg to the right. And those leans add a sense of weight to his web swinging. That is not found in Spider-Man 2. He'll keep that same pose if you lean left or you lean right. And they've limited the amount of way you can, lean left and lean right. It's very much, hey, focus. You're forced to go in this direction unless you web zip to another location. And they tried to implement the little tether mechanic where you swing around. It's just poorly implemented. There is no cohesion in all the movesets that make you feel like this is a concrete jungle. This is something that goes contrast to their cutscenes, because how that he acts in his cutscenes is night and day from how the player is able to move in the actual game. And I think that's a problem right there. I think many people have pointed this out, where, hey, you can glide on the ground, that, hey, you can grind off of, the railings of buildings. It gives a more intimate experience with the environment. Like, this is your New York. That's what it is. In Spider-Man 2, what they've done, it makes you feel like, hey, these are nothing more than boxes. That's it. These are nothing more than boxes, as opposed to giving the player a level of depth to engage with the environment. And this is something that can be achieved within their trick system. If you give the player, hey, it's very much similar to Assassin's Creed, where there are certain areas where it very much shows that, hey, this is a path that you can go, where it'll have you swing around and you go up this path. There's certain paths that are made for the player. None of that exists in Spider-Man 2, and I think that's where it can be improved upon greatly, where you can have little railings that you can slide, jump onto that, grind onto here, grind on on a car, jump off a car, grind onto something, there are litany of ways to go about this, even with their web tunnel. This is something I think is underutilized, their web tunnel. Like, we can't swing off of helicopters because there are no helicopters. Once you beat the mission, I believe it's the lizard one, once that mission's gone, all the helicopters disappear. You never see a helicopter in any of the side crimes or anything like that. So I'm just like, everything is there for them. Everything is there for them. It's right there for the taking. They have just failed to use it. I don't know why. I don't know if that's because they want to make it very simple and easy for everyone and have no depth to the gameplay, or they just don't have the creativity to do that, or they don't have the skill to do that. And I find that a bit jarring, given as far as the amazing traversal that we had in Sunset Overdrive. So I'm just like, if you were to just take some of the mechanics from Sunset Overdrive with the grinding and everything they have there, and implement that in Spider-Man, like, what are we talking about? This should be the greatest web swinging and traversal that we've seen, and yet it's not. We're having decade-old games that are doing this to a better, more efficient, more competent degree, and I think that's a travesty. Now, that is going to be the video. I'm sure I probably missed a few things, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Nevertheless, if you happen to enjoy it, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, keep animating.